You stand at a funeral. You wear black. You lower your voice. You leave flowers on a coffin without ever asking why. It feels automatic. It feels like something you were born knowing. But the real answer is far stranger. The urge to mark death did not begin with you. It did not begin with religion, or with civilization, or even with modern humans. It began tens of thousands of years ago, in caves, with people who had no words for the afterlife, and who did something with their dead that changed what it means to be human. Start with a question. What actually happens to a body once life leaves it? Left alone, nature is fast and indifferent. Scavengers arrive within hours. Decomposition begins almost immediately. In the wild, a dead animal simply becomes part of the landscape again. No ceremony, no pause, just biology, moving forward. Humans do something different, and that difference shows up astonishingly early. In 1957, archaeologist Ralph Selecki was excavating Shanidar Cave in northern Iraq. He uncovered the remains of Neanderthals, buried deliberately in a shallow pit. Around one skeleton, soil samples revealed high concentrations of pollen. Selecki proposed something radical for the time. He suggested the Neanderthals had placed flowers on the body before covering it with earth. The press loved it. They called it the flower burial. Scientists have argued about the pollen ever since. Some think it blew in naturally. Others think burrowing rodents carried it in. But the debate itself proves something. Even the possibility of Neanderthal flowers was enough to rewrite what people believed about our closest evolutionary cousins. Because before that discovery, Neanderthals were seen as brutish, unthinking, barely human. The idea that they might have grieved, that they might have marked a death with something as gentle as a flower, forced a reevaluation. If Neanderthals buried their dead with intention, then the line between human and animal gets blurrier than anyone wanted to admit. So when did this behavior actually start? Not with flowers, with something simpler, with digging. Archaeologist Paul Pettit has spent decades studying the earliest burials on record. His research traces deliberate burial back roughly 100,000 years to sites like Kafse and Skul in what is now Israel. At Kafse, a child was buried with deer antlers placed carefully across the chest. Not thrown in, not discarded, positioned, placed there by someone who thought about what the body should look like once it was laid to rest. Think about what that means. Someone knelt beside a small body. Someone chose an object. Someone decided it belonged there, next to the heart, and not somewhere else. That is not instinct. That is intention. That is one of the oldest recorded moments of a human mind reaching toward meaning. Why would that matter, evolutionarily speaking? Burying a body takes energy. It takes time. In a world of predators and scarce food, every hour spent digging a hole is an hour not spent hunting, gathering, or watching for danger. From a purely survival standpoint, burial makes no sense. And yet humans did it anyway, again and again, for tens of thousands of years, across completely different continents and cultures that never made contact with each other. That is the twist. This behavior is not a cultural invention passed down through teaching. It appears to be something closer to a universal switch inside the human mind, one that turns on independently wherever humans exist. Consider what grief actually looks like beneath the surface. Primatologist Barbara King has documented something remarkable in her research on animal behavior. Elephants linger near the bodies of dead herd members, touching the bones with their trunks. Chimpanzees have been observed carrying dead infants for days, sometimes grooming the lifeless body as if it were still alive. Dolphins have been seen supporting dying companions at the surface, trying to help them breathe. King's argument is not that animals fully understand death the way humans do. Her argument is that grief itself may not be uniquely human. What may be unique to humans is what comes after the grief. The ritual, the object left behind, the story told about where the person has gone. That is the real discovery hiding underneath all this research. Grief is old. Ritual is what makes it human. A chimpanzee mourns and then moves on, because the moment passes and there is nothing to hold it in place. A human builds a monument. A human tells a story about an afterlife. A human returns to the same spot year after year and calls it sacred. Somewhere between grief and ritual, humans invented something animals do not appear to have, a way to keep the dead present even after they are gone. Look at what early humans buried alongside their dead, and a picture starts to form. Tools, beads, red ochre pigment, painted onto bones long after the flesh had disappeared. Ochre shows up at burial sites across multiple continents, sometimes stained directly onto skeletal remains that were dug up, painted, and reburied. Why would anyone go through the effort of exhuming a skeleton just to color it red and put it back? One theory ties this directly to belief. Red is the color of blood, and blood is the color of life. Painting a skeleton red may have been an attempt to symbolically return life to the dead or to mark them as still belonging to the community of the living. Whatever the exact meaning was, the pattern reveals something important. These were not people simply disposing of a problem. These were people performing a story. Now bring this back to you. You already do this. You just do not think of it that way. You visit a grave and speak to it, even though you know no one is listening in any conventional sense. You keep a photograph on a shelf because looking at it makes the person feel less gone. You mark an anniversary of a death the same way ancient humans marked burials with ochre and antlers, returning to a specific point in time and saying, "This still matters. This is not forgotten." Here is the part that should genuinely unsettle you. Neuroscience suggests your brain does not fully process the permanence of death the way your logic does. Studies on grief and continuing bonds, echoed in research following in the tradition of psychologists like John Bowlby, show that many people continue to feel an active relationship with the deceased. They talk to them. They ask them for guidance. They imagine their reactions to current events. This is not delusion. It is a deeply wired feature of a social brain that evolved to track relationships, and that struggles to simply delete someone from its internal model of the world. Ancient burial rituals may have been humanity's first attempt to give that feeling somewhere to go, a place to visit, an object to hold, a story that says the connection has not actually ended, only changed shape. That reframes everything about a funeral. It is not simply about honoring the dead. It is about managing something the living brain refuses to let go of. Consider one more detail from the archaeological record. Many early burials are found in fetal positions, bodies curled inward, knees drawn toward the chest. Some researchers suggest this was practical, a way to fit a body into a smaller pit. Others suggest something more symbolic, a visual echo of the position humans hold before birth. Whether intentional or not, the image is hard to shake. The first thing early humans may have done with death was make it resemble the beginning of life. So what did ancient humans actually do when someone died? They knelt down. They dug. They placed an object with intention. They painted bone the color of blood. They returned to that spot again and again, refusing to let the moment simply end. Long before language could explain what death meant, the body already knew how to answer it with action. And that is what you are still doing. Every single time you lower your voice in a room built for grief. Every time you leave something behind on a grave. Every time you speak to someone who cannot answer. You are not performing an obligation. You are continuing the oldest ritual your species ever built. Somewhere in northern Iraq, someone once knelt beside a body and reached for something to leave there. Whatever they were reaching for, part of you is still reaching for it too. Like and subscribe for more.